fun. And Super Bowl is always fun, right? Like the lead up to Super Bowl, even if it's not a good game, or if you're interested, whether you're interested or you're not interested, it's always fun. Yeah. But I think this year it's a bonus because it actually is going to be good and very compelling stories with Kansas City, obviously, and Tom
we're going to talk about that for sure. Now, kind of going into the Super Bowl, first of all, a lot of us didn't even think we were going to be here, right? Is there going to be a Super Bowl? Is there going to be sports? Remember, during this 2020 year, we didn't have sports for a very, very long time. So when you guys heard sports are back and Super Bowl is happening back in September, what teams did you guys think were going to be here in Super Bowl 55?
I thought, not to be a homer or anything, I thought I had a chance with my Browns, but realistically, Chiefs on the AFC side and Green Bay on the NFC side.
Okay, good little prediction. What? Anybody else had a prediction or a feeling?
Well, I think it was pretty fair to say. I think everybody had the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs were just the dominant, by far, runaway team. The NFC was a little bit more harder to predict. I don't remember having anybody in particular.
Yeah. Well, look, now we're on Super Bowl 55, which is the rocking Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the rocking Kansas City Chiefs. So right now, send that love or put in your comments on who is your team that you're going to go for. Right now, we're really going to give you guys a show to uncover a lot of great topics. So starting off with the first one, Super Bowl will be held at the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, making the Buccaneers the first team in NFL history to play a Super Bowl in their home stadium. So I want to just ask you guys, do they have an advantage that they're playing in their home stadium?
Huge advantage. I think, you're playing at home. They know the facility. They know the field. They know their fans. If you've ever watched a Tampa Bay game, when they score a touchdown, there's a big old cannon that goes off and gets everyone, rowdy. I love that. And I think that's going to definitely, funnel through to the players. And it's pride. They're playing at home. That's their turf. And it's a Super Bowl. It's the first one they've had in a long time. So I think they'll bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough. One thing, though, I don't know if many of you guys remember this, a little Super Bowl trivia. In 84 or 85, I think it was 84, the 49ers and Dolphins played in Palo Alto, California, which is not the 49ers' hometown, but it's essentially, it would be like the Oilers playing the Super Bowl at U of H's stadium.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was what happened in 84. So.
Yeah. Exactly. And we thank you for the trivia. Look, you bring, Attorney Ramesh, you bring a lot of trivia. You are a sport guru. So we're going to really depend on you for some of this historic moments. Now, we're going to go into the young versus old. Okay. I say that with all due respect. But in this game, we have two quarterbacks going head to head with many comparisons. If you guys turn on the TV right now, this is what they're talking about. So I want to ask you guys, what would be more impressive to you? For Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl at age 43 or Patrick Mahomes with Kansas City Chiefs at 25?
Ooh. I would go with, I think it's more of a feat for Tom Brady to do it at 43, just because he's lasted this long. But at the same time, he's been so good for so long that we kind of put nothing past him. So it's kind of like we're not surprised at the same time, but it's still a feat in itself. I'm definitely wild by it and admiration for sure.
Yeah, not surprised for sure. And we do have some comments. I want to let you guys know what your audience is thinking. So Ravi saying Tampa Bay, Matthew saying go Bucks. And then Ravi saying also, Marcelo, will you marry me?
Man,
very random. Okay.
I think we're on the wrong show for that there.
I know. Well, listen, as the only one here who has any white in their beard, okay, from these two, I'm going to speak for the older people here and say it'd be quite the achievement if Tom Brady did it.
Yeah.
To do it at 43. I mean, he's already 6-3 in Super Bowls. This is his 10th Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, and
impressive in and of itself. So.
That's an interesting fact. That's what I was about to bring up. We need to consider Tom Brady has won 6 Super Bowls and Mahomes has won 1.
Already?
It really shows you the young versus old. Now, Brady has put together a dream team of sorts. He was in the New England before for almost 20 years, and now he's in Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And would it be a failure, in y'all's opinion, if they don't win?
No, I think when Brady went over to the Buccaneers, it was such a monumental change in the world of football because forever he had been at the Patriots and he brought along some guys. You know, Gronk came out of retirement. I believe, you know, Antonio Brown had some issues. He went over to the team. I mean, he inspires people. People want to jump on board, and you know, he is a legend of the game. So I don't think it's a disappointment to think that, you know, I believe, is it his first season, guys? I think.
It's your first season.
That's incredible. A complete change in the system, and for them to be there, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And should it be also noted that the Patriots didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, oh well, you know, is it coach or quarterback? I don't know.
Right.
So now let's get to another football question here. So now we're going to go into the kind of the tight end war. This is another, great topic here. So Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, who's very small, compact, fast. What do you guys think that Tampa Bay should do to slow him down, or can they?
You have to double him.
There's no slowing him down though. Even if you double him,
is best, but slowing down, I guess, is relative. You just slow down a little bit by doubling, but then you're gonna have people on the outside, on the receiver side slots as well, that'd be wide open. So you can't do too much to, I guess, totally hone in on him only because they have so many weapons, but contain at best. Contain.
I mean, they'll kill you inside and out with Tariq Hill or any of those running backs. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just plug and play any of those guys, right?
Right.
For Kansas City.
Yeah. And so, look, talking about tight end, Tampa Bay has Rob Gronkowski. I might say that wrong. It's a totally tongue twister right there. And we call him Gronk, right? So he mentioned in the recent interview that he thought Kelce was Kansas City's best offensive player. And I think that's a very humble comment, right? So what are your thoughts on this statement that he made against his opponent he's going to go after?
I think it's high praise and respect, I mean, taken literally, even on a team with Mahomes and Tyreek and all of these guys. I mean, just to be labeled the best out of that group is quite the accomplishment. But I think he's just paying him respect from one player to the other. Get a little bit of gamesmanship.
I think specifically the tight end position is somewhat of a hybrid because they're on the line blocking, they're running out to catch passes. I think there's a big question mark when you see this guy line up. Is he going to block? Is he going to stay on the line? Is he going to take off? I think that gets in the defense mind. How do we control this guy? You can do one or the other, and I think that's what makes a tight end in particular a dangerous position for defenses.
Yeah, and I know we're about to talk about the defense, but before we do that, who's going to win the matchup with these tight ends? Not looking at the team, just the position. So, in y'all's opinion, who do you think is going to win this matchup?
I'm going Kelce.
Kelce, he wins every matchup.
Is that a 3 for 3 we have here, Kelce?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, 3 for 3. And I'm going to just go right there with you guys. So 4 for 4.
I was going to say, there was no hesitation either. I think Clarence was like, nah, man. That's Kelce. Yeah.
I do want to see a Gronk spike, though. Those are fun,
I think, he'll get one probably, but he'll get more targets being Kelce. He'll get more passes. He'll probably get more ball spread around his legs. So I think he'll do better.
I mean, this is Gronk's like 6th or 7th Super Bowl. You know that?
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, another veteran in the game. So speaking of defense versus offense, so these two teams, met earlier in the season on November 29th, if you guys remember. Kansas City was able to pull off the win 27-24. They played the same team at the same stadium. So what are your thoughts about this game? Because the beginning wasn't so promising for Tampa Bay.
I think that with that being said, they've gelled a lot. I think when you come out the gates and have all these new players working together for the first time, it takes time to get that continuity. It takes time to get on the same page as an offense and defense. I think that now they're peaking at the right time.
I was going to say, and I don't know, I'm just going to go out on a limb and just say it. I don't think that game means anything. I think that game's irrelevant. I think to the game coming up, so much has changed. So much is different now. The players are in such different positions now, health-wise, status-wise. They've got so many different games on tape since that date. Like, I don't think that game matters at all. I think that they're going to be looking at so many other things that how that played, but I think they could use it as a reference. But I think to say it's a good starting point. How would I say that? Yeah,
clean slate, right? Is what you're saying. Like this is it. Season's over. This is a whole nother metric, which is Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
And this is where history is going to be made. So speaking of, I want to kind of tell you guys how they ended their season. So the Chiefs ended their season with 14-2. The Bucs finished their season with 11-5. Again, we just said clean slate. But I do want to highlight some of the strengths and weaknesses. Let's start off with a little bit not so bright news, but the weaknesses. What, in your opinion, what are the weaknesses of each team?
I would say on the Kansas City side, if they're on defense, they have a lot more holes than on offense, of course, because offense is so prolific. But if you can run the ball against their defense and keep that Patrick Mahomes on the sideline longer, you have a very, very viable chance of beating. With the offense, they can score very quickly. They get out there and put points up in bunches. But if you control the defense on running the ball and the clock continues to go, you can definitely catch them sleeping.
Yeah, and I think Claire makes a good point, because even with a big lead, and I think we've seen this and history's shown this, right? Like the Texans, our own Texans, right? Our own happy-go-lucky Texans. They were up 24-0 early on these very Chiefs in Arrowhead at Kansas City. And it didn't matter, because why? Because Kansas City can score a lot of points quickly, and they do it quickly, and they score them quickly, and they put them up in bunches. The key is possession and control. Right? You want to make sure that you got the ball, or at least you're making them, like if Kansas City has to score, instead of them going 4 plays and 70 yards in a minute and a half, you're making them go 15 plays, 78 yards, 7 minutes and 40 seconds. You know what I mean? To score that same touchdown. So yeah, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. And another point that I want to bring up to you as far as weakness is Kansas City, their offensive line is decimated right now with injuries. So what are your thoughts about that on the defense not being so strong right now?
And they have COVID scares too, don't they? Don't they have COVID scares? I thought that they did.
I know they have to each get tested, and if one of them tests positive, they're out of the game. Yeah. They have no tolerance for that. I don't know what the latest record is on the COVID testing, but they get tested twice a day.
Yeah, I know.
That has to hurt their nostrils.
Yeah, no, but think about it from a strategical standpoint on the team's end. If you're one of your players, especially with the offensive line where they all have to gel together and the timing has to be on point, if one of those guys, is out for injury or, recently COVID, and they'll get noticed like the day of, they'll pull them out of training in the early game warm. Obviously, that'll be devastating both for the team and particularly for the player. But, especially with an offensive line that has to gel together, a loss of one of your starters, I think impacts you more than having a defensive starter out, because defense is a little bit more different. And I think it's a little more of a free-for-all playing defense. I mean, obviously you have your plays and all that, but offense is a beautiful synchronization of multiple players playing at the same time. And that's how those holes are opened up in the front line, or you have sufficient space to let your guys get out downfield for the ball. So let's see. I don't know in particular what the injuries look like on the offensive line, but for either team, that I think that'll be a bigger blow than having someone on the defensive end out sick due to injury or illness.
Could you imagine if Mahomes got COVID?
Yeah, it could happen.
I wish that upon anyone.
They'll make a place. They'll find a way. If you're a star big enough, they'll find a way to get you on that field.
Yeah, your test will be negative. Don't worry. All right, your test will be negative.
Right.
Well, hopefully, look, they're being safe, as we are recommending for everyone out there to be safe, especially on this very important weekend. I don't think this is the week to play around with, let's go to the restaurant or let's go to a bar. If anything, just lay low for a week, just because that's coming. It's something a lot of people, that's their highlight, right? So now let's switch it over to the strengths, guys. I know there is a lot of strengths that I know you guys want to highlight, but what are the strengths of both of these teams that could benefit or not benefit the other team?
Experience on Tampa Bay side is definitely a glaring strength. You have Tom Brady behind the helm initially, and then you have Antonio Brown on that side of the ball, as well as Gronk. Those people that have playoff experience year in and year out in big games, Super Bowls, not just like first round wild card, big games. So having them as maybe a voice of reason to calm the younger guys down or just be there like, not for the first time, that's going to be a strength in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. So in y'all's opinion, who has the best defense? Not everybody at once.
It's
It's
gonna
a
be
hard one, huh?
It's gonna be a shootout.
That's
but-
the thing, you asked that question. I think Clarence makes a good point. It's like, yeah, the defenses are good, right? I think that they're kind of very similar, but the story here is straight up offense.
Yeah,
Right.
we're gonna air it out.
Like these teams are just loaded on both of them on the offensive side of the ball.
Nice. Great point that you guys are bringing up. So now I kind of want to go into the quarterback talk. Like there's a lot of talk right now on the quarterbacks. And I want to take a moment really quickly to highlight Tom Brady. So Brady was with the New England Patriots after almost 20 years. He is obviously an experienced Super Bowl champion, as we mentioned earlier, and future Hall of Famer. How do you guys think he will perform?
I think
I think he's gonna kill it.
Yeah, as always.
it's the biggest game. He says he wants to continue playing for a few more years. I'm sure he can, but he gets fired up. And in previous Super Bowl losses, if you see the interviews with Brady after the fact, I mean, this guy, he keeps going. Although he's won 6 already, he's hungry. So I think on the experience and in specifically on the age factor, I mean, Brady looks good in his movements. So I think he's really going to bring it.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? He gave up what, sugar and something else, and he has this like pliability training method that relies more on flexibility than actual strength, and he feels like he can play another 5 years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's
That
pretty
is
crazy.
incredible. We should all probably apply that to our diets.
I don't know if I
think
can
we
give
have
up
better
sugar,
quality.
Marima.
I don't know either. I'm a sugar girl too. So, I want to kind of bring this up because Clarence brought up a good point. We're not surprised, right? But I do want to ask you guys, did you guys expect for him to be here in this year, 2021, Super Bowl 55?
I did not. I thought maybe
First year.
maybe next year, not year one. No, I didn't see it going this way. But so we all agree that if anyone's going to do it, he's probably the guy that's going to do it. But I didn't see him going first year Super Bowl.
Yeah, first year is what's impressive here. Like, I'm with you, Clarence. I think, man, it would have been impressive if they would have gotten to the Super Bowl in their second year. But to come in here just he's the only one different. You know what I mean? At that position to be different, and then for all of them to gel. And football is the ultimate team sport, right? It's the ultimate sport. Like in basketball, if you've got the best dude, you're probably gonna win, right? Right? If you got the best dude, if you have Shaq, right, in his prime, you're probably going to win. If you have Jordan, you're probably going to win, right? But in football, even if you have the best guy, you need all these other guys, and then you need a whole other side of the ball to be, that you're not involved with. So there's a lot that has to go right, and for him to come in here and then go to the Super Bowl, they haven't been to the Super Bowl in 17 years, man, 18 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And look, you bring up a good point, Ramesh, and you brought it up earlier. There was actually an interview either this morning or yesterday, and Brady said that he wants to play until he's 45. Now, he's been saying the same thing every year. He wants to play to a certain age. Right now, I want to remind you guys, he's 43. So what do you guys think of this new age that he's saying he wants to play till 45?
Yeah, that would be unheard of a few years ago. But as Ramesh mentioned, he seems, I've read some articles on Brady. I know he's very disciplined in his diet and his well-being. So, and I would imagine coupled with the latest technology in sports, therapy, whatever it is, they can play for some time. I mean, football is one of the most aggressive sports out there. It's a dangerous sport, but if they protect the QB, I mean, he's flying.
I think the way the game has changed has definitely helped his longevity, because now if you breathe on a quarterback the wrong way, you are getting hit out of the game. So it's definitely going to make him have a longer career because less hits on you, or you get hit. The penalty on the defense is going to be so egregious that you're going to pull up ideally and not get that extra either targeting or another 15 yards or whatever else. So the game being shifting into a more safer game has definitely made him stay in the league longer.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, because nowadays you can't even do that 2 or 3 steps until you hit the guy. These guys pull up now, and it's even taught now. Back in the day, these guys would throw the ball, and like it would be well after they threw the ball, getting smacked, you know? So yeah, all that's been cleaned up, so that's helped too.
Yeah, and just, we want to also highlight the other quarterback from Texas. Whoop, whoop. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Now, he is young, but that doesn't mean he isn't experienced. So last year, he held the Kansas City Chiefs to the Super Bowl win, which is year 2020. So I guess the big question that a lot of people are saying is, do you think he could do it again?
He's on Brady's career trajectory, right? I mean, I know it's early, right? But if he wins on Sunday, 2-4, that's where Brady started.
That's a big statement.
But that's where Brady started.
I agree with you, and that's a big statement.
Brady, but he's there, and he's already went to the championship game, and now he's been to his second Super Bowl in a row. And if they win, he's going to have 2 Super Bowls, probably 2 MVPs.
Possible. Very possible.
And 2 Super Bowls back to back. I know the last time that happened was since New England Patriots did it in 03-04. So I think that's a great point that you guys are bringing up. Back to back. Who doesn't love a back to back win?
No kidding.
Yeah, and carrying over that experience of last year, I think his nerves can be a little more settled this time around. Although he is going up against Tom Brady and his team, he's already been there, and he won it. And I think he was MVP last year.
Yeah, he was, right.
And so he's going to ball as well. He's a young man. He's a 25-year-old, and he's been on fire. That team has been shooting, all cylinders. So it kind of goes back to what we've been discussing. This is just going to be an offensive shootout, and I'm looking forward to both teams doing their part. Yeah.
They do, but if Brady wins his 5th MVP, that would be crazy.
That's incredible. All around.
That would be crazy. It'd be his 7th Super Bowl title, his 5th MVP. He's
running out of fingers, man. You need
I know.
So all of that would be crazy. And kind of speaking of Texas, speaking of football, we are a Houston-based law firm, and it's only right to touch a little bit about what's been dominating the news, which is Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. So what are your thoughts that he just signed a contract 7 months ago, and he's mad right now? There's a lot of details that we're not going to really discuss, but mad at the management, and he is demanding to get traded. So what are your thoughts about what's happening?
Well, first, I think it's unfortunate. I think there is definitely a misstep or with the levels of the lines of communication between the team and its star player. And I think that is pretty obvious. The sad part to me is I don't understand how these problems have become irreparable. Like this is your star player. He's generational talent. You make it work with him. That's what's frustrating for me from an outside perspective. Yeah, look, it's going to be very complicated too. So Deshaun, you mentioned money. Deshaun signed a contract. He has a no trade clause in this contract. What that means is he has unilateral right to determine where he gets to go play. So the Texans cannot just trade him anywhere. They have to first ascertain his approval that he will accept that trade, and then they can proceed to trade him. So it adds a very, very complicated layer to any negotiations with any unhappy player, and that makes it pretty difficult.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because, a lot of people that is watching right now are thinking, what does really that mean? How complicated really is it? Can't he just go, right? And so it is a little bit more complicated in the contract, but, with the room full of attorneys, I have to ask, is there any loopholes that he could probably still get traded, or it just has to go through a whole lot of legal jargon?
Well, the best thing to do too, let me just explain it to you this way. What Deshaun Watson has the right is, say the Saints come to the Texans and say, hey, we'll give you 5 first-round picks and we'll give you the right to swap for 4 years, okay? And then the Dolphins come to the Texans and say, hey, we're going to give you 3 first-round picks and this guy. Well, the Texans would rather have the Saints pick, but Deshaun can say, I'm not going to New Orleans. So now, bad trade, we can't make that trade, okay? So then once we get stuck there, we would have to either make another trade or either get his approval. And you ask, what are the loopholes? Here's the loopholes. Well, listen, Sean, you don't want to go to New Orleans. I know you won't waive your no trade contest. How about we add 1 year and $40 million to your contract as an extension? Will you go to New Orleans now? Yeah, I'll go to New Orleans now. There he goes to New Orleans.
And those are, and just kind of touching base on what you're saying, Ramesh, these are all obviously hypothetical examples so that we can kind of better explain the situation. But, you know, still watch the news to see how everything's going to happen. I know there's a lot of history in the making with this. And so speaking of history in the making, there are so many more points that I want you guys to, you know, talk a little bit more about. But we have Sarah Thomas will be the first woman to ref the Super Bowl, which is crazy. I think this is great. This is empowering women. It seems like this year is the year for women. I say that with all due respect because I'm in a room full of men, but breaking through ceilings that we are witnessing with even such as our female vice president. So what do you guys think that this means for this year and even for our future?
I think that just equality that's starting to be divvied out, and the fact that the stigma that are on certain professions are starting to be dismantled. It's been time that should have already happened a long time ago, but it's happening now finally. So I'm all for it. I'm encouraging. I'm happy to see it. So hopefully it continues to permeate other professions and continues to happen.
Yeah, it's good to see good quality, you know, good quality referee, like not have gender barriers being broken. And, you know, typically the beautiful thing about all of this stuff is that usually when the gender barrier is broken, it's because not only because they're competent, but because they're excellent, right? These women are excellent. So let's really give it up to her. And I'm really proud of her on the biggest stage on men's largest game. That is quite the accomplishment.
Yes. I definitely think that's awesome. You guys said it very well. You know, just not having a gender specific and just breaking through ceilings. I think that's super important. Speaking of breaking through ceilings and speaking of also witnessing history, you know, I want to kind of touch base a little bit about what this month means. It's Happy Black History Month. We commemorate the African American achievements that have happened and are still happening. I want to be very clear with that because there's so many achievements in our Black and Brown communities, which I think is awesome. So, you know, speaking of making change and striving, you know, the NFL has a few African American and minority head coaches of being Miami Dolphins, Pittsburgh Steelers, Washington Redskins, and even the Houston Texans, our hometown. So this organization is definitely inducing the change that we are seeing in our society. Now, Tampa Bay has 2 African American coordinators and Kansas City has 1 African American coordinator. Now, I want to ask you guys, because we're talking about the Black history, the social injustice, there not being any ceilings anymore. People are breaking through. Should these individuals or others be considered for head coaching jobs?
Most definitely. Even speaking to the Steelers, one of their owners, the Rooney Rule came around for a while, which is basically putting people in a position to be able to be interviewed. A lot of times the opportunity wasn't even being given to minorities. So they're trying to slowly change those things. But a lot of them that are coordinators now or assistant coaches along those lines have great resumes. They've shown their worth. They deserve that opportunity. We can't have a barrier being broken until the room is open for all applicants. If you can't get in the room, you can't go to the next level. So I'm happy to see it, and they definitely deserve an opportunity.
Well said, Clarence. Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we can progress as a society and these positions are filled with individuals that are qualified regardless of, you know, their color or race, I think that's excellent. And more so that it's happening and giving other individuals opportunities that they didn't previously have is a beautiful thing. We're in 2021, you know, we're not in the early 1900s or even before then. We need to get, you know, caught up to speed on things, and I'm happy it's happening in this way.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm happy that we're seeing it. Ramesh, did you have something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, it's just truly nice to see that these positions are being filled, and it's giving, you know, we're giving fair opportunity to everybody and opportunity to people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity. And I think that is where you point that out, right?
Right.
So that's all I want to say. Thank you,
I love that. I know, you want to have a seat at the table. And I think now this year, a lot of people are considering it, are listening and really getting those positions there. So, talking about the dynamics, the historic things, there's other things that we also need to consider with the NFL teams. They have salary caps. I don't know if you guys remember, which it was a whole big ordeal about the salary caps, which is important. And right now, Mahomes signed a $500 million deal. So now I'm going to bring this to Attorney Ramesh. How is Kansas going to make this work? Because they also have player salaries to fulfill. So when we talk about the cap, it's for the team, not for the individual. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, it's gonna be very delicate. So typically whenever they do a contract like this, what they'll do is they will project it out over the years of the contract. And each year will have a specified cap hit number, right? So each year that number may vary, but roughly it's gonna stay the same and it's gonna be extremely high, right? So, and then there'll be other provisions as to if you cut him, what would that provision be? Like, what's the dead cap space? If you release him from his contract, what are the cap space? What is the cap hit for years down the line? So it becomes very, very complicated. No doubt, Monty, how do they deal with it moving forward? Very delicately. I think for Kansas City, any type of strategic cap management or kind of asset planning begins and starts with Mahomes' contract and kind of where does it leave you. But that being said, he's the best player in the game. He's worth that discussion. It's worth starting with him.
Yeah, and I want to take this to either Clarence or Marcelo. What do you guys think of the players for next season trying to get on this roster, let's just say hypothetically on Kansas City, and knowing that there is a kind of getting close to that cap? Would you get on the team because it's the best team, or would you go somewhere else to get the better return on your investment?
I think it depends a lot on their seniority. So you've already made your couple of big contracts and you're okay with taking a smaller amount. You may be more apt to go to the ring now as opposed to trying to make sure you're set up financially. You've already had those big breaks. Now on the lower side, if you have not had that yet, you may be kind of hesitant to make sure you're setting yourself up for the future financially, and then maybe on the backside, then go towards winning. Because a lot of times players will have different, agendas, depending on what they already have rings, maybe. It might not be a fit for them. If they don't have one, it may be a fit. So it depends on the person and the player, but it varies basically. It all depends.
Yeah, I think there's many factors involved in that decision. It's not strictly on the money end, but of course, if you want, you're a player, and I think the average career is a few years in the NFL. And so kind of weighing that out and potentially having the opportunity to come on board with a team that can take you to the Super Bowl. I am a Miami Dolphins fan. I am from Miami, and look at Dan Marino, all those years and no Super Bowl. And so that's tough for a guy who is a legend in the league. And it's not to say that it's comparable, but if you have an opportunity to join a team, get on board with them, sure, you may make a little less money. Obviously, they're making good money either way. For a chance at a championship, I think there's a lot of factors to consider, definitely.
Well, one thing I will tell you from our concussion practice, the average NFL career is not a few years. It's like a little over 1 year. It's very, very, they recycle, the players are really recycled out there. The average guy doesn't really play past 1 year, maybe a couple practices after that. That being said, I think you guys are right. It all depends, different agendas, right? And then there's also the argument of what does the value of being associated as a winner mean, right? Do you take less money to win a championship and then be known as a guy who's won a championship? Because that in and of itself has value, right? So
you can always pawn the ring, right? If in case that thing is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hope you don't get to that stage, right? Right. You hope you're not there. Yeah.
And look, now that we're talking about the salary cap, every team has that one player that has a higher salary. Every team has, what they consider their GOAT, but need to consider also other members, right? So now this term I just mentioned is also another term that's pretty controversial right now and is being thrown around. So I do want to ask you, the GOAT, what is y'all's definition of the GOAT? Because everyone has something different that they're throwing out here.
It's tough. It's really tough, especially with so many positions on the field and different teams. So I like to only go off of rings alone. It's not really fair. You have to factor in the time when people were in your division. You could be in a division that has a lot of perennial just powerhouses. You could be in one that's kind of like lax, and then you might have a worse record, but could have been one of the best players ever graced the green grass. So my GOAT, I'm going Jim Brown. I'm a homer. I'll take that. That's my GOAT. But that's also our running back, though. So it's not really fair to compare apples to oranges on that kind of thing. But I think we'll have our own perspectives, though. So mine is Jim Brown.
Marcelo?
Yeah, I'd say I'd actually take it back more on a macro level. I think for me, a GOAT is someone has had a lot of perseverance and discipline throughout their career to keep playing at that level for so many years.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of names are thrown around, but that's incredible to think 15, 16 years. I mean, obviously it comes with time and it comes with the results. But when you hear the word or the acronym there, GOAT being thrown around, you think of your Michael Jordans, you think of, your Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi. These guys are just phenoms. They're on another level. And I think that's incredible year after year. So, I think, I don't know if it seems to me it's a little premature if you're going to throw in Mahomes' name. I don't know if he's in this discussion at all yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's a little bit early.
Some years, let him build up, and let's have this conversation in a few years, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you need to have some years. You need to have some years before you're in the GOAT discussion. I mean, he's definitely on the GOAT track. You know what I mean?
GOAT in the way, man.
If there ever was one, if there ever was, a way to do that, right? A textbook way to go about it. But for me, the GOAT, hey, dude, for the longest time, I used to be a big Montana guy just because, quarterbacks, just unbelievable. Warren Moon, but for me, the GOAT, it has to be Brady, man. I mean, he's been to 10 Super Bowls, dude. In a sport, in an era where, it doesn't, people going to multiple Super Bowls doesn't happen. It's the ultimate parity league, right? From year to year, everybody changes. Teams get better, teams get worse. And he managed to maintain a level of excellence. Do you realize that he's been to 10 Super Bowls in 21 years? He's played 21 years, and this is his 10th Super Bowl. That's insane.
Yeah, that is crazy. And you guys bring up great points. And just to remind everyone, I know we're saying the GOAT, it really stands for greatest of all time. So I do understand, you got to get some more times underneath your belt to be considered the greatest, right? So I think that's a great discussion. It's all over the place right now, and what it really means and what constitutes it, whether it's accomplishments, whether it's talents, or, what they could do for their team. There's just a lot of talk right now. And I think it's great that you guys bring that perspective. And speaking of GOAT, everyone thinks of, a Super Bowl. There's a lot of things that we associate with the Super Bowl, right? And one of them is the halftime performance. It's a huge stage. It's the greatest of all times, right? And last year we did have Shakira and J-Lo perform. This year is going to be The Weeknd, an R&B singer, which is awesome. So, a lot of people think of what is the best Super Bowl. And I don't know if you guys remember, if there's a highlight of your artist that was growing up, the Super Bowl, oh my God, that was besides the Janet Jackson situation, right? What do you guys think was your favorite moment?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, it looks like you got a bunch of people who don't watch the Super Bowl. Halftime show.
Not the halftime.
Exactly. And go to get up at that point in time, get some wings, and come back.
Yeah, you try to get up.
And then come back to the television. So
I will say, Whitney, if you guys haven't seen it, Whitney singing the national anthem in the 91 Super Bowl, that was really famous. That's really hard. I don't know. There's something about the way she sang that, and we were just entered the Gulf War. So it was real patriotic at the time. I remember that one. I remember, listening to it live and being moved and the whole nine.
Yeah, and I know
the USA chants afterwards, which always get me.
And I understand. Look, the guys watch the game, the females watch the performance, right? That's a good little scenario. So I get it. And along with the halftime show, there's more things to offer of the Super Bowl. So it is a family affair, right? So if you don't like the football, you like the performances, someone at the table is gonna love something, right? So not only is there halftime, but there's also Super Bowl 55 offers a lot of other stuff. So there's an R&B artist, Jasmine Sullivan, and country singer Eric Church will perform the duet of the U.S. national anthem. I'm pretty sure you guys don't watch the anthem. Y'all are getting years at that time, huh?
No, I bet it. I bet the anthem.
There you go.
I bet the length of the how long it'll take to sing it.
Yeah, or if there's any mess ups, this is always great to see the next day. There's all this media and content of, did you see they messed up? So I think it's super neat to see all of that. But along with that, maybe you guys see this or not. Maybe you're still chugging your beer, but it's the commercials.
Yes. The commercials are good. I watch the commercials. You watch the commercials, right?
Yeah.
This is where, companies, big time companies, this is their highlight. They bring their funniest, their best. So it has you at your seat like, wait, I didn't get that. Or that was hilarious, right? So do you guys remember of a Super Bowl commercial that stands out beside the Budweiser? Besides that one, do you guys have one that sticks out of your mind that was one of the best?
For me, it was a Budweiser one, but it was for a different reason. It was after 9/11. It was the Super Bowl after 9/11. And it was the one with the Clydesdale, where they went he was on the farm where he went to the grave, and it was the fallen soldier, and the Clydesdale lifted up his leg and bowed in respect, and then had the flag and all that stuff. And I get touchy just even thinking about it. It was such a great ad, especially at that time in this country. So. What a different time compared to where we are now.
Totally
different. And Ramesh, as you mentioned, some of these commercials have a great way to connect with people. It's not always comedy, I mean, as you just mentioned, and the timing was ideal because everything that had just happened and made a connection to this day, and so
I still remember it. I still remember the feelings it gave me, the feelings of patriotism. I mean, it was just a really well done ad. It was really well done.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of, I want to let you guys know, I know I kind of said Budweiser at the beginning, but, Budweiser has done commercials for the last 25 years. And this year, they're not going to be airing one this year.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's something kind of sad, but look, it's reality right now. The reality is what happened in 2020. There's a lot of companies and businesses that are suffering, and this is, probably a better decision for their financial needs. So, I don't know if you guys knew about that, but that is huge.
No, that's huge news, buddy. I did not know that. That's 25 years of Budweiser ads. Everybody looked forward to the Budweiser ads, whether it was the Frogs or Spuds McKinsey or whoever. I mean, it just, you look forward to it. And that's really sad. I did not know that. Thank you for that, buddy. I don't know about that.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys know the beer commercials are always on the commercial. So Bud Light, Seltzer, Lemonade, all of those will be, just to name a few on there. The beers are just heading the commercial. So make sure you have your beer ready at your Super Bowl watch party. Awesome. So I do have a couple comments I want to let you guys know. We have Maria saying Tampa Bay all the way. And then we have Kim saying, what a great team of attorneys. Go Chiefs.
There you go. Yeah, people are pulling for both teams. And I think, thankfully it's here. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, last year, we had no idea when the season was going to start up again. We were all just kind of tuning in. The news were more or less is covering the same things over and over. So this really is a great way for the country to get distracted for a little bit of the day-to-day and really just kind of enjoy the moment. And so we're all looking forward to a good game.
Yeah, and just don't be surprised, guys, because just like you said, Marcelo, everything's changed. We didn't even know football was coming back. We didn't even know if there was going to be a Super Bowl. So they are making modifications with the stadium. So the stadium is going to be limited to 20% of capacity due to COVID, which means just over 13,000 fans will be in the stadium that seats 66,000 people. That is crazy. So the season itself has made an adjustment with their fans, even the players, like they're not feeling that energy, which could be, something a little bit different for even just the players. So the stadium is working on doing CDC rules and guidelines to make sure everyone is safe. So what are some recommendations that you guys have? That's just the stadium. Then there's still in your city, in your town, there's watch parties, there's bars. So what are some recommendations that you guys have for Super Bowl party plans during these times that we're still living in?
I do one thing too. I think it's pretty cool. Like out of the 13,000 tickets, aren't 7,000 going to healthcare workers and people like needy people, like people who, like it's going to people who would never go to the Super Bowl otherwise.
That's great.
And I think it's really great that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Marty, some tips to being safe. I think this is important, especially for all of us here in Texas. Look, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all have created our own bubbles, right? We have our own bubbles like within our families and stuff like that. And all I got to say is we got to be responsible. And everybody knows there's no hard and fast rule for what responsible is, right? I think we all kind of just know it when we know it. And I think we all have to know how to be responsible. And I think we know when we're doing better and when we're not.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just remember, if you guys go to a restaurant or a bar, people are constantly without their mask because they're drinking. So make the best decision for you, make the best decision for your family. But most importantly, I agree with Ramesh and the attorneys on the panel today to stay safe. It is Super Bowl, it's a game, but you don't want to compromise your health for sure. So attorneys, I have to ask you guys, how will you guys be enjoying the Super Bowl? What are y'all's plans for the weekend? Are you doing a good little Zoom watch party? What's going on?
I'm not sure yet. I know I'll be glued to a couch and eyes to the television for sure. Just not sure yet.
Yes, that's a good little combination you have there. Awesome. Anyone else have something fun and exciting that's going to happen with the watch party?
I'm gonna be at the house. May have a small group over, but it'll be just catching the game and potentially doing a little bit of barbecue. We've had some really nice weather on the weekend here in Houston. I hope that carries through this upcoming weekend.
I'm not sure what we're doing. We usually have a get together at the house for some Super Bowl people. For the Super Bowl party, we usually like to have some people get over. But I don't know with COVID and all that what we're gonna do. We do have the girls, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know.
So that's a house full of people anyway.
Yeah, within itself. So you guys share with us, what are you doing for your Super Bowl plans? How are you staying safe? How are you making it COVID friendly? I think this would be awesome for you guys to just give us some ideas. Now, I have, two final questions for our panels. We're getting close to the end of the show. This one's a little bit loaded. So I do want to ask you, what does Tampa Bay have to do to win? And what does Kansas City have to do to win?
So I think kind of what we were saying earlier. So for Tampa Bay to win, they need to keep their offense on the field longer than Kansas City offense on the field. They control the ball, control the clock, they have a good chance. On the inverse, you kind of want to do the same. You don't want Tom Brady out there with all day and all night either. So you kind of want to make sure you're controlling time of possession. I feel like if either team does that, that's going to swing the pendulum either way. They're both really, really solid teams. So it's about who had the ball maybe last or the most.
Good suggestion. Marcelo, what do you think?
Well, yeah, control Brady. If you get him out of rhythm, people start to notice he's agitated. That's going to affect the team, I think, because they're all looking up at him and saying, hey, man, you've been here. You've won this 6 times. Lead us through. And I think when you keep a defense on the field, they get exhausted. And if they start picking those guys apart, it could be troublesome. And as we all know, Brady is very accurate. He gels well with his receivers. But Kansas City is a fun team to watch. I mean, I think it's going to be a really good Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a good one to watch. Ramesh, what are your thoughts?
I think the key is going to be, it's all going to be dependent on Brady, and he's got to keep the Kansas City offense off the field. So if he's on the field, if Brady's on the field, that means Mahomes is off of it. And I think if he can do long possession stay, try, because look, it is going to be about who scores. So just the longer that you can hold on to possession and control the game, which something Brady's just really good at to begin with. I think that's going to be the key, because honestly, I don't think you can keep the Chiefs under wraps. So I don't think the Chiefs are too hard to contain.
Great opinions that you guys do bring to the table. So I definitely want to commend that. Now, the question I've been avoiding this whole show, okay, and I want you guys to answer with one word only. Who do you guys think is going to win Super Bowl 55? So, Clarence, I'm going to start with you. One word only.
Buccaneers.
Okay, Marcelo.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
Okay, Ramesh.
I'm going to go upset special, baby, Buccaneers.
Okay, so we have 2 for 1. Definitely tune into our next show to see who was right and who was wrong, because we do have some contenders here that went for the opposite team, and it's all good. Look, that's what it is. I love
Clarence, it's me and you, buddy.
I love this type of dynamic, because it does give you guys the ability to have an opinion, to watch a game. You can never really put your finger on what's really going to happen. So you know what's going to happen? We're just going to have to wait and see. Exactly. So I want to thank you guys all for being on this panel. You guys all bring a different perspective, and I love having you guys, each and every one of you, on the show. But today I had you all together, and I want to thank you guys for being on the show today.
Thank you. Hey, we want to thank you for knowing all your stuff, Marty. Like, you knew all your stuff, man.
Thank you.
I didn't know you were such the fan. You must have dug in. Like,
yes,
you did well, Marty. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm going to answer that question. My one word is Chiefs.
There you go. There we go.
Okay.
The balance is.
There you go. Yeah. So we're half and half right there. So yes, definitely.
Excellent work today, Marty. You did great.
Thank you. And thank you guys as well, that you guys definitely brought to the forefront a lot of great topics that are being talked about today. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Talk to Me Tuesday. And I want to thank you guys for liking this program, but most importantly, sharing it. The more you share, the more people we get to talking about the same topic. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Talk to Me Tuesday on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Madi B.
Right there.